Poverty begins not in the pocket but in the mind. Long before the empty wallet, there was the empty thought. Long before the unpaid bills, there was the silent conviction that one could not have enough. To understand why poverty clings to so many, we must look within. For the outer life is but a reflection of the inner belief. The greatest truth is this: your circumstances are shaped by the images and convictions you hold inside. If you carry the belief that you are destined to struggle, then no matter how much effort you exert, life will mirror struggle back to you. But if you nurture within yourself a steadfast picture of abundance, supply, and freedom, the world around you will eventually conform to that picture. The inner belief is the mold, and the outer life is the casting poured into that mold. Think for a moment of a seed. A tiny acorn holds within it the blueprint of a mighty oak. No one questions that the oak is already contained inside the seed. Likewise, the seed of wealth, health, and success lies within the soil of your consciousness. If you plant seeds of fear, lack, and doubt, you will harvest struggle. But if you plant seeds of faith, vision, and expectancy, you will harvest prosperity. The soil of the mind is neutral. It grows whatever you plant. That is why belief is the most powerful tool you possess. When people say, "I am poor because I was born into poverty," or "I am poor because opportunity never came to me," they overlook the greater reality. It is not birth or chance that holds them in bondage, but thought. History is filled with countless individuals who rose from humble beginnings to great abundance. Not because the world gave them a golden key, but because they dared to believe differently. They refused to accept poverty as their permanent state, and their inner conviction opened doors where none seemed to exist. Belief is magnetic. When you believe in lack, you unconsciously repel wealth. You hesitate, you fear, you shrink from opportunities, and your very energy signals to the world that you are unready to receive. But when you believe in abundance, your energy shifts. You walk taller, you speak with assurance, you attract people, resources, and opportunities who sense your confidence. Life mirrors your inner conviction. Belief literally sets the boundaries of what you allow yourself to experience. Consider a person who constantly repeats, "Money never stays with me. I can't seem to get ahead." That inner belief is a command to life. Even if money does come, circumstances will quickly arise to carry it away. An accident, an unexpected expense, a bad decision, all aligning with the belief that wealth cannot remain. On the other hand, a person who holds the conviction, "I am divinely supplied. Money flows to me and stays with me," creates a different command. Life then organizes itself to support that conviction. Opportunities appear, income increases, and expenses seem to diminish or resolve themselves with ease. The power lies not in chance, but in belief. This is why self-image is so crucial. A poor self-image creates a poor outer life. If you see yourself as small, unworthy, and undeserving, the world will confirm that vision. But if you see yourself as valuable, capable, and worthy of good, the world must eventually reflect that back. Life cannot consistently give you what you do not first give yourself in thought. Let us take an example from daily life. Imagine two people applying for the same position. Both have equal qualifications. One walks in with hesitation, apologizing for taking the interviewer's time, doubting their ability, and shrinking into their chair. The other walks in with poise, confident in their value, certain they can contribute, and expecting to be welcomed. Who do you think receives the opportunity? The outer actions are the same: resumes, answers, appearance. But the inner belief sets the tone and ultimately determines the outcome. This principle does not apply only to jobs or money. It governs every area of life. Health, relationships, creativity, all are governed by inner belief. A person who believes they are always unlucky in love will unconsciously sabotage relationships, while one who believes they are worthy of love will naturally draw it in. Likewise, a person who believes their body is frail will constantly speak sickness into existence, while one who believes in vitality and strength will notice their body aligning with health. Belief shapes destiny. So, if you desire to rise out of poverty and limitation, begin not with action, but with belief. Begin with the inner picture. See yourself as abundant, even when your purse feels empty. Declare yourself prosperous, even when the bank balance appears small. This is not denial of reality. It is recognition that reality is shaped by the invisible first. What you see today is only the harvest of yesterday's thoughts. To change tomorrow's harvest, you must plant new seeds today. How, then, can you cultivate a new inner belief? By persistence. Every day, affirm within yourself, I am supplied, I am worthy, I am prosperous, I am free. At first, your mind may resist, it may argue, but look at your bills. Look at your lack. Do not argue with appearances. Keep planting new thoughts. Just as a seed does not sprout overnight, your new belief requires nurturing. But if you remain steadfast, the day will come when the inner picture blossoms into outer reality. Finally, remember this: you cannot be poor more, because poverty is not your true identity. It is only a temporary shadow, created by limited belief. Your true essence is abundance itself, for you are connected to an infinite source of supply. Once you awaken to this truth, and align your belief with it, poverty must disappear as naturally as darkness disappears before the rising sun. So guard your inner belief. Protect it as you would a treasure, for it is the foundation upon which all prosperity rests. Wealth is not something you chase. It is something you become, first within, and then without. And when the belief within you says, I am rich, I am supplied, I am free, then nothing in this world can keep you in poverty again. Words are not mere sounds carried by air. They are vibrations that shape the fabric of reality. Every word you speak plants a seed into the soil of your life. Some seeds produce fruits of joy, health, and abundance, while others produce thorns of lack, sorrow, and struggle. What you speak repeatedly becomes what you live eventually. That is the unchanging law of life. Many people fail to understand the extraordinary power resting on their tongues. They treat words casually, forgetting that words are spiritual instruments of creation. Just as a carpenter builds with wood, so do we build our lives with words. A carpenter may construct a house, a table, or a chair depending on the design chosen. Likewise, our words can construct poverty or wealth, peace or conflict, freedom or bondage. Words are builders, and they never rest. Think of how often people curse their own prosperity without realizing it. Someone looks at their bills and sighs, I can never get ahead. Another sees an unexpected expense and groans, money just slips through my fingers. Each of those statements is a command spoken into life, a decree that instructs the unseen forces around them to align with poverty. It is as if their words are sending a message to the universe. Keep me struggling. Keep me lacking. And the obedient universe fulfills that order, for it cannot resist the creative authority of words. On the other hand, imagine a person who sees those same bills but declares, I am always provided for. Money flows to me easily and stays with me. Though their bank account may still appear small, their words plant different seeds. They are calling forth provision, declaring their right to abundance, and setting in motion unseen channels of supply. the vibration of those words begins to attract opportunities, ideas, and resources. Life hears the call and answers. This is why it is said, "Let the weak say, I am strong." Notice, it does not say, "Let the weak speak of weakness," but rather, "Let the weak declare strength." Words have the power to reverse conditions, to change weakness into strength, lack into plenty, sorrow into joy. What you say consistently will eventually appear in your life. Every word is a seed, and like any seed, it requires time to grow. Many abandon their affirmations because they do not see immediate results. They say, "I tried speaking abundance for a week, but nothing changed." Yet no farmer plants seeds today and expects a full harvest tomorrow. Growth takes time. The soil of the mind must nurture the seed, and the right conditions of faith and persistence must be maintained. If the farmer digs up the seed in doubt, the growth is interrupted. Likewise, when you contradict your affirmations with negative speech, you uproot the seeds you planted. Consider the contrast between two individuals in similar circumstances. One constantly declares, "Everything goes wrong for me. I can't win. I'll never have enough." Their life becomes a cycle of disappointment because their words shape their reality. The other person, though facing challenges, affirms daily, "All things work together for my good. I am divinely supplied. Every day brings me closer to prosperity." Their words uplift, energize, and magnetize them. Soon, solutions appear, unexpected blessings come forth, and their life shifts. The difference is not chance, it is the deliberate use of words as creative forces. Your words also influence others. A parent who constantly says to a child, "You'll never succeed," plants seeds of failure in that child's mind. A leader who says to their team, "We are destined to win," ignites courage and confidence in those who hear. Words not only shape your own life but ripple outward, shaping the lives of those around you. That is why careless speech is so dangerous. It is never idle. Every word has power, and every word produces fruit. How, then, should you use this power? Speak only that which you desire to see. If you desire abundance, declare abundance. If you desire health, speak health. If you desire peace, speak peace. Train your tongue to align with your vision, not your fears. When appearances show lack, resist the temptation to reinforce it with negative speech. Instead, declare the opposite. "I am prospered in every way." In doing so, you are not lying. You are calling forth the higher reality that already exists in the unseen. Words are also prayers. Each affirmation, each declaration, is a form of prayer sent into the universe. The question is not whether your words are heard. The question is what kind of prayer you are constantly sending. Are you praying unconsciously for lack by speaking of how poor you are? Or are you praying consciously for wealth by affirming that supply is yours? Remember, every word is a request, and life responds accordingly. Another vital aspect is emotion. Words spoken with belief carry great power, but words spoken with conviction and feeling carry even more. When you say, "I am prosperous," with joy and confidence, you imprint that message deeply upon your subconscious mind. The subconscious then takes that command and works day and night to bring it into manifestation. Words backed by emotion are like seeds watered daily. They grow quickly and abundantly. So let your speech become sacred. Refuse to speak against yourself. Refuse to curse your finances, your opportunities, or your future with careless talk. Instead, become intentional with every word. Let your conversations be rich with affirmation, gratitude, and expectancy. Say often, "I am blessed. I am supplied. Everything I need comes to me at the right time." The more you speak this way, the more natural it becomes, until abundance flows not only through your words, but also through your entire being. Ultimately, words are not small, they are everything. They shape thought, direct energy, influence belief, and command circumstances. Your outer world is the echo of your inner and spoken world. If you want to change your life, begin with your tongue. Master your speech, and you master your destiny. So remember this truth: you can't be poor more, for your words hold the key to prosperity. Choose them wisely, speak them boldly, and watch as the creative forces of life bring forth the abundance you declare. There is a law that governs all provision, a principle older than time itself, and it is called the law of divine supply. Just as the law of gravity holds the planets in place, the law of divine supply holds abundance in constant motion, ready to flow into the life of anyone who aligns with it. Poverty, therefore, is not the natural state of humanity. Lack is not the will of life. Scarcity appears only when one steps out of harmony with the law. The truth is this: supply is infinite. Look at the stars in the sky, beyond counting. Look at the grains of sand along the seashore, impossible to measure. Look at the endless waves that return again and again to the shore. Creation itself testifies to abundance. If the Creator was stingy, the world would be bare. But instead, everywhere we look, we see overflowing provision. The same law that fills the oceans with water and the fields with harvest is the law that governs your finances, your opportunities, and your success. Yet many live as though this supply is cut off. They see only limitation. They say, "There is not enough for everyone. I must struggle to survive. Life has forgotten me." But these are illusions, not truths. The law of divine supply never runs out, never withholds, never fails. It is humanity's fear and doubt that build dams, blocking the flow. Imagine a great river constantly moving. The water is abundant, fresh, and never-ending. But if someone places a heavy stone wall across it, the river cannot reach the fields waiting to be watered. The problem is not the river. It still flows. The problem is the blockage. Fear, worry, and disbelief are the walls we build that stop the supply from reaching us. So how do we remove the blockages? By faith. Faith is the channel through which supply flows. When you declare with confidence, "I am divinely provided for. All my needs are met in perfect ways," you open the gates for the river of supply to flow freely into your life. Doubt tightens the fist, but faith opens the hand. The more you trust in the law, the more freely provision comes. Some may ask, if supply is unlimited, why do so many remain poor? The answer lies in consciousness. The law responds not to need but to belief. You may desperately need food, rent, or work. But if your inner belief shouts, "There is not enough," the law must reflect that belief. On the other hand, even when circumstances appear grim, if your inner conviction is, "I am connected to endless supply," the law will organize circumstances to meet that conviction. The law works impersonally. It mirrors consciousness. Just as the law of gravity works for everyone equally, the law of divine supply operates without favoritism. What you expect is what you receive. To see this truth, look at nature. Birds never panic about food, yet they are fed daily. Flowers never worry about blooming, yet they are clothed in beauty. Trees never fret about water, yet their roots always find nourishment. None of creation doubts the supply that sustains it, except humanity. When humans begin to trust as naturally as the birds, flowers, and trees, they too will live free of lack. Another key to the law of divine supply is circulation. Supply is not stagnant, it moves. Money, like blood in the body, must circulate. If you hoard in fear, you block the law. But when you give with faith, you keep the river flowing. This does not mean recklessness, but rather a joyful willingness to release, knowing more will always return. The more freely you let supply move through you, the more freely it returns multiplied. The law is generous, but it requires trust in circulation. Gratitude also activates the law. When you give thanks for the smallest coin, you magnetize more. When you appreciate the food before you, the roof above you, the opportunities around you, you align yourself with abundance. Gratitude is proof that you are aware of supply, and awareness attracts more of what you acknowledge. A thankful heart cannot remain in lack, for gratitude is the language that abundance understands. Let us take an example. Imagine a person who is burdened by debt. They look at their situation and say, "I am trapped. I'll never get free." Their words and beliefs build walls, and the river of supply cannot reach them. Another person, facing the same debt, says, "I may not see the way, but I know the law of supply is working. I am guided to solutions. I am free." That belief opens a channel. Soon, opportunities appear, perhaps extra income, unexpected help, or wisdom for managing money. The same law is present for both, but only the one who believed aligned with it. The law of divine supply does not fail. What fails is our alignment with it. But once we understand this truth, poverty becomes impossible. For how can one remain poor when connected to infinite wealth? How can one starve when connected to the endless harvest? The only requirement is faith. Faith to believe in what cannot yet be seen. Faith to declare abundance when appearances shout lack. Faith to walk as though the supply is already yours. So today, release fear. Tear down the walls of doubt. Stop speaking of lack and begin speaking of supply. Say daily, "I am part of an unlimited universe. My needs are always met. I live in overflowing abundance." These declarations are not fantasies. They are keys that unlock the law. Remember this: you cannot be poor more, because poverty is not your natural state. You are an heir to infinite supply. The river of provision is already flowing, waiting only for you to open the channels of belief, gratitude, and circulation. Align with the law, and you will never lack again. Gratitude is more than a polite word or a gentle gesture. It is a force, a spiritual magnet that draws abundance into your life. It is the golden key that unlocks doors once thought sealed. Where others see only lack, gratitude sees blessings. Where others complain, gratitude praises. Where others despair, gratitude gives thanks. And in this simple act of thanksgiving, the vibration of lack is broken, and the current of abundance begins to flow. So many live under the heavy burden of poverty, not because supply is absent, but because gratitude is absent. Complaining has taken the place of thanksgiving, and fear has drowned out appreciation. When one complains, they reinforce lack. When one is thankful, even for the smallest coin or crust of bread, they multiply it. Gratitude is the alchemy that turns little into much, and much into overflow. Think for a moment of the sun. It rises each morning without fail, giving light freely to all. Yet how often do we pause to say, "Thank you for this light"? The air we breathe, the water that refreshes us, the roof that shelters us, all are gifts that so often go unnoticed. But the moment we begin to acknowledge these gifts, we change our vibration. We move from the heavy frequency of lack into the light frequency of abundance. Gratitude tunes us to prosperity. Imagine two individuals with the same modest income. One constantly grumbles, "This isn't enough. I can't survive. I'll always be behind." Their ingratitude shuts the door to increase, for they are blind to the blessings they already possess. The other person, though receiving the same income, declares, "I am thankful for this provision. I am grateful for my work, for the food on my table, for the opportunities around me. Their gratitude multiplies their blessings. They attract favor, opportunities, and unexpected gifts, because their heart has aligned with the law of increase. Gratitude opens the door. There is a law at work here. Whatever you appreciate, appreciates. When you give thanks for what you have, you make room for more. But when you despise or ignore what you have, you push it away. Gratitude is not a passive feeling. It is an active declaration that acknowledges the abundance already present. And life, in response, says, "Here is more of what you celebrate." Even in times of difficulty, gratitude holds immense power. When facing bills, instead of saying, "I don't have enough," say, "I am thankful that this bill represents services I have already enjoyed. Electricity, shelter, food, comfort. And I am grateful that the supply to cover it is on its way." Such gratitude transforms fear into faith and attracts the very supply you need. History and daily life give countless examples of gratitude's power. Many who rose from humble beginnings did so not by complaining about what they lacked, but by giving thanks for what little they had. A grateful spirit sees opportunity where others see obstacles. Gratitude sharpens vision, enabling one to spot doors of advancement that a complaining spirit will always overlook. Gratitude also disarms envy. Instead of saying, "Why do they have so much while I have so little?" the grateful heart says, "Thank you for showing me what is possible. If it exists for them, it can exist for me too." In this way, gratitude transforms comparison into inspiration and keeps the heart open to receiving its own blessings. Some may argue, "How can I be grateful when I am struggling, when debts are piling, when opportunities seem scarce?" But gratitude is not about ignoring hardship. It is about recognizing blessings even in hardship. Gratitude says, "I may not have all I desire yet, but I am alive, I can breathe, I can dream. I can hope." These are treasures that no debt collector can take away. Gratitude shines its light into the darkest places, proving that even in trial, abundance still surrounds us. To cultivate gratitude, one must practice it daily. Begin each morning by listing at least 5 things for which you are thankful. They can be simple: the bed you slept in, the breath in your lungs, the water you drink. Speak them aloud with conviction. At night, before sleep, reflect on the day and give thanks for its blessings, both big and small. This habit gradually rewires the mind, shifting focus from lack to abundance. And as the mind shifts, so does reality. Gratitude should also be spoken. Silent appreciation is powerful, but spoken gratitude multiplies its power. Declare often, "I am thankful for my health. I am thankful for my supply. I am thankful for the opportunities that flow to me." Spoken gratitude imprints itself deeper on the subconscious and radiates outward, drawing matching experiences into your life. There is also power in showing gratitude toward others. A simple "thank you," spoken sincerely, can strengthen relationships, open doors of kindness, and create opportunities for cooperation and goodwill. The grateful heart does not only draw abundance in material form, but also in relationships, favor, and harmony. Gratitude builds bridges where ingratitude builds walls. Remember this: the act of giving thanks is itself a declaration of abundance. To say, "Thank you," is to affirm, "I already have something of value." And in affirming that, you place yourself in alignment with more. Gratitude is not dependent on wealth, it is the foundation of wealth. One may have millions and still feel poor if gratitude is absent. Another may have little and feel rich because gratitude is present. Yet in time, the grateful one will draw the wealth the ungrateful one cannot keep. So let your heart be filled with gratitude at all times. Be thankful for every small blessing, for each one is a stepping stone to greater blessings. Let gratitude be the song you sing, the prayer you pray, the attitude you carry. With gratitude, the door of prosperity opens wide, and nothing can shut it. Remember this eternal truth: you can't be poor more, because gratitude has already unlocked the door to your abundance. Step through it, live in it, and let thanksgiving guide you into a life of overflow. Fear is the silent thief that robs people of abundance long before lack ever appears in their lives. Fear whispers, "There is not enough." Fear cries, "You will fail if you try." Fear insists, "If you lose what little you have, you will never get more." These chains of fear bind the soul, paralyze action, and keep many living in poverty when abundance is waiting just beyond their hesitation. To overcome lack, one must first break free from fear. Fear is not a natural state, it is a shadow. Just as darkness is only the absence of light, fear is only the absence of faith. Where faith is strong, fear cannot remain. Where fear dominates, faith has been pushed aside. The two cannot coexist. If you wish to experience freedom, wealth, and success, you must strengthen your faith until fear has no place left to hide. The tragedy of fear is that it blinds us to opportunities. Imagine standing before a door of gold, wide open, with treasures beyond. Fear makes you tremble and whisper, "What if it is a trap? What if I am not worthy to enter? What if I lose what I gain?" So you stand frozen, while the treasures wait untouched. Fear does not only stop people from receiving, it convinces them that they were never meant to receive at all. Yet the truth is this: you were born to prosper, and fear is the only wall keeping you from claiming what is already yours. Consider the many fears people carry about money. Some fear that money is evil, so they push it away unconsciously. Others fear that if they gain wealth, they will lose it, so they never allow themselves to succeed. Others fear judgment. What will people say if I am wealthy? So they stay small to remain accepted. But none of these fears are truth. They are illusions, woven from old beliefs, inherited traditions, or negative experiences. Fear creates illusions, but faith reveals reality. When you look closely, you will see that fear has no real substance. It is like a mirage in the desert. It appears real, but when you walk toward it with courage, it disappears. How many times have you feared something, only to later realize that the fear was far worse than the reality? Fear magnifies shadows, but faith shines the light and shows that there is nothing to fear. To break the chains of fear, one must act in faith. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite fear. Each time you choose faith over fear, the chains weaken. Each time you take a step forward, the prison walls of doubt crack. Soon, fear loses its power, and you walk in freedom. Let us consider a simple example. A person sees an opportunity to start a small business. Their heart says, "This is your chance." But fear whispers, "What if you fail? What if you lose your savings?" If they listen to fear, they remain stuck, never trying, never growing. But if they listen to faith and take the step, they may stumble at first, but eventually they will find their rhythm. Success will come, because faith moves them to action, while fear only kept them paralyzed. Another way fear chains people is through the fear of lack. Many are afraid to give, thinking, "If I release this money, I will have nothing left." Yet this fear breaks the law of circulation, and as a result, they block the very supply they long for. But when one gives with faith, declaring, "I am part of infinite supply, and what I give returns multiplied," the fear of loss dissolves. Giving becomes proof that fear no longer controls them, and abundance flows freely in return. Breaking fear also requires guarding the mind. Fear often enters through words, news, and conversations. How often do you hear, "The economy is collapsing. Jobs are disappearing. Times are hard"? These fearful words take root in unguarded minds and produce anxious thoughts. But one who guards their mind refuses to let fear enter. Instead, they affirm, "My supply does not depend on the economy. I am connected to divine abundance, which never fails." With such affirmations, fear is shut out and faith is strengthened. Gratitude also destroys fear. A fearful heart sees only what is missing. A grateful heart sees what is present. When you practice daily gratitude, fear finds no place to root itself. Gratitude says, "Even now, I am blessed. Even now, I am supplied." And this assurance leaves no room for the anxious lies of fear. Remember, fear often comes disguised as caution or wisdom. It says, "Be careful. Don't risk. Stay safe." But true wisdom is not paralyzing. It inspires wise action. Fear is always limiting, while faith is always liberating. You will know the difference by the fruit. If the voice makes you shrink, it is fear. If it makes you grow, it is faith. The chains of fear are heavy, but they are not unbreakable. With every declaration of faith, with every act of courage, with every word of gratitude, the chains weaken. Soon they shatter, and you stand free. Free to create, free to prosper, free to walk in your destiny. So let this truth settle into your heart. You cannot be poor more, because fear no longer has power over you. Break its chains today. Speak faith where you once spoke fear. Act with courage where you once hesitated. Give thanks where you once complained. And as fear dissolves, abundance will rush in, filling every space it once occupied. One of the greatest secrets to prosperity is this: abundance flows through giving. Wealth is not stagnant. It circulates, it moves, it breathes. Just as a river that flows enriches every field it touches, so does the spirit of giving keep the channels of supply open in your life. When you withhold in fear, you create stagnation. When you give in faith, you set the law of circulation into motion, and blessings return multiplied. Giving is not loss. It is investment. Too many shrink back thinking, "If I give what little I have, I will be left with nothing." This is fear speaking, not truth. In reality, giving proves to yourself and to the universe that you are not bound by poverty. Giving is a declaration that you trust the endless supply of life to replenish you. Every seed sown produces a harvest, and every gift released returns in ways greater than you can imagine. Think of a farmer. If he clings tightly to his seeds, afraid to release them, his fields remain barren. But when he scatters them generously into the soil, in due season, he reaps an abundant harvest. The seed must leave his hand to multiply. Likewise, the wealth you hold must be allowed to flow outward if it is ever to return in greater measure. Giving is the planting, and abundance is the harvest. It is not the size of the gift that matters, but the spirit in which it is given. A small coin given with faith and joy holds more power than a large gift given with fear or resentment. Giving must be done with love, with expectancy, with the certainty that you are participating in divine circulation. What leaves your hand never leaves your life. It simply changes form, returning at the right time in the right way. Some think, "I will give when I become wealthy." But wealth does not come first. Giving does. Giving is the proof of faith in abundance. If you wait until you have more before you give, you are declaring that you live in fear of lack. But when you give now, even out of little, you declare, "I live in abundance, and there is always more where this came from." Such a declaration activates the law of increase. There are many forms of giving, and each opens doors of blessing. You can give money, which circulates directly into financial return. You can give time, which returns as opportunities and relationships. You can give kindness, which multiplies as goodwill and favor. You can give encouragement, which comes back as strength when you need it most. Giving is not limited to one channel, but in every form, it opens the way for supply to flow back to you. Consider a person who receives money and immediately spends it all on themselves, never giving, never sharing. Soon they find their money slips away, and no new opportunities arise. They live in constant fear of losing what little they have. Contrast this with another who, upon receiving, sets aside a portion to give, to help another, to support a cause, to bless a friend. That person lives in the consciousness of circulation, and so money finds its way back to them again and again. The difference is not luck. It is the law of giving and receiving. Another important truth is this: giving breaks greed. Greed says, "There is not enough, so I must hold tightly." But giving declares, "There is always enough, for I live in infinite supply." When you give, you prove that fear and greed no longer rule you. You prove that your trust is in abundance, not scarcity. And in doing so, you free yourself from the chains of lack. Even spiritual and emotional blockages can be healed by giving. When you feel discouraged, give encouragement to someone else, and joy returns to your heart. When you feel lonely, give kindness to another, and companionship flows back. When you feel financially strained, give even a small gift in faith, and you will find unexpected channels of provision opening. Giving is the key that unlocks both material and spiritual doors. Let us remember, giving must be guided by faith, not fear. Some give reluctantly, saying, "I hope this helps, but I can't afford to give." That kind of giving carries the vibration of lack and produces little return. But when you give joyfully, declaring, "I am sowing into abundance, and it will return multiplied," your gift carries the energy of increase. The difference lies not in the amount, but in the spirit. Gratitude must accompany giving. Each time you give thanks. Not only for what you have given, but also for the harvest that is already on its way. Gratitude seals the act of giving and keeps the channel wide open for blessings to return. Say often, "I am thankful that I always have something to give, and I am thankful that my gifts return to me multiplied." This spirit transforms giving from a duty into a joy. Remember, too, giving is not only about money. It is about embodying generosity in all things. Smile freely, forgive quickly, help gladly, share openly. These are gifts just as valuable as gold, for they enrich the soul and expand the heart. A generous soul will never live in poverty, because generosity itself creates the environment of abundance. So let this truth settle deep within you. You cannot be poor more, for you have discovered the role of giving. Poverty hoards, but abundance shares. Poverty clings, but abundance releases. The hand that opens to give cannot remain empty. It is soon filled again, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Therefore, give without fear. Give with joy. Give with the certainty that every seed you plant grows into a harvest beyond measure. As you live in the spirit of giving, the law of circulation ensures that wealth, opportunities, and blessings will flow back to you endlessly. Giving is not the end of what you have. It is the beginning of what is yet to come. One of the most powerful steps in rising above poverty and lack is learning to see beyond appearances. What the eyes show is only the surface. Appearances may declare, "You have no money," or "Your situation is hopeless." But appearances are not reality. They are shadows, temporary pictures, illusions of limitation. True wealth begins when you train your vision to look past what is seen and embrace the unseen abundance that already belongs to you. The world is filled with examples of people who rose above circumstances because they refused to accept appearances as final. A person may look at an empty cupboard and say, "This proves I am poor." Yet another may look at the same cupboard and declare, "This is only temporary, for my supply is already on the way." Both individuals face the same outward condition, but the difference lies in their vision. One is bound by appearances, while the other is guided by inner truth. Understand this: appearances are deceptive. They often reflect yesterday's beliefs rather than tomorrow's possibilities. The bills you see today are the fruit of old thoughts and actions, but they are not the prophecy of your future. If you continue to dwell on lack, you extend the appearance of poverty. But if you shift your focus to abundance, you plant the seeds of prosperity that will soon transform what you see. The eye of faith sees riches, while the eye of fear sees emptiness. To live in prosperity, you must become like a sculptor who sees the finished masterpiece hidden inside the stone. The block of marble may appear rough, plain, and ordinary. Yet the sculptor does not focus on the stone's outward appearance. He sees the statue within. In the same way, you must look beyond the surface of your circumstances and see the treasure hidden within them. Appearances whisper, "You have nothing." But the vision of truth declares, "All that I need is already here, waiting to be revealed." This principle is not wishful thinking. It is alignment with reality. Everything you need exists in the invisible realm before it manifests in the visible. Just as a seed contains, within it, the invisible pattern of the tree, your life holds within it the invisible blueprint of abundance. When you look at appearances and declare them final, you deny the seed its growth. But when you look past appearances and declare abundance, you water the seed of wealth and invite it to flourish. Think of the farmer once more. When he plants seeds in the soil, the ground looks empty. Day after day, he may see no sprout, no sign of growth. Appearances say, "Nothing is happening." But the farmer knows better. Beneath the surface, the seed is alive, expanding, reaching upward. Soon, the invisible becomes visible. Prosperity works in the same way. Appearances may seem barren, but beneath them, your good is already forming. If you lose hope because of appearances, you abandon the harvest. If you trust the unseen, you receive it in time. The secret is to train your imagination to dwell on abundance rather than lack. Imagination is the eye of the soul. It shapes what you eventually see in the outer world. If you imagine debt, despair, and difficulty, appearances will soon reflect those images. But if you imagine comfort, joy, and supply, appearances will eventually bow to those pictures. Hold firmly to the inner vision, even when outward evidence denies it. The unseen is stronger than the seen, and truth always triumphs over illusion. One of the greatest mistakes people make is arguing with appearances. They say, "I cannot declare abundance because look at my situation." Yet if you wait until appearances change before you speak abundance, you will never see change. It is the declaration of abundance that transforms appearances. Say, "I am rich in supply. My needs are already met. I live in overflowing abundance," even when appearances shout otherwise. Speak the truth until appearances yield to it. Remember, appearances are like clouds. They may cover the sun, making the world look dark and cold, but the sun has not vanished. It still shines above the clouds. In the same way, abundance is always present, even when appearances hide it. Your task is not to deny the clouds, but to hold faith in the sun beyond them. The moment the clouds part, the light streams through. This practice of seeing beyond appearances builds inner strength. It teaches you that you are not controlled by circumstances. You are controlled by vision. Circumstances shift and change like shadows, but vision creates stability. Those who live by appearances are tossed about by every change of fortune. Those who live by vision remain steady, for they know that appearances are fleeting, but truth is eternal. If you want to transform your life, ask yourself, what am I choosing to see? Do you see only lack, debt, and difficulty? Or do you see opportunities, provision, and blessings on the way? Train your words to match your vision. Say often, I see abundance unfolding before me. I see wealth flowing into my life. I see blessings in places where others see only lack. Such declarations build a new picture, and life rushes to fulfill it. Another vital step is gratitude. Gratitude allows you to see abundance, even in small beginnings. When appearances show you a single coin, gratitude says, this coin is proof of wealth, and more is on the way. When appearances show you a small opportunity, gratitude says, this is the doorway to greater things. Gratitude transforms appearances by teaching you to see the seed rather than the shell. With gratitude, you recognize that appearances are not the end. They are the beginning. So hold this truth in your heart: appearances do not define you. You are greater than your circumstances. You are richer than your bank account. You are stronger than your challenges. You live in a universe of infinite supply, and that supply is constantly seeking to manifest through you. What you see today is not the final picture. It is only the canvas. Your faith, your words, and your vision are the brushstrokes that paint the masterpiece of your future. Therefore, refuse to be discouraged by appearances. Refuse to be trapped by what the eyes show. Choose instead to see abundance, even in the face of lack. See health in the midst of sickness, wealth in the midst of debt, victory in the midst of struggle. What you see with the inner eye will soon appear before your physical eyes. For the truth is unshakable. You cannot be poor more when you learn to see beyond appearances. Wealth is not first measured in coins or bills, in houses or jewels. True wealth begins as a state of consciousness, a way of thinking, believing, and being. Before riches arrive in the outer world, they must be welcomed in the inner world. To live in the consciousness of wealth is to rise above appearances, to reject the identity of poverty, and to walk daily in the awareness that abundance is your birthright. When this consciousness takes root, poverty cannot remain, for you will no longer be in harmony with it. Many people chase after wealth while holding in their minds the picture of lack. They labor hard, yet poverty clings to them, because their inner world has not shifted. The outer world always mirrors the inner. If you see yourself as poor, life confirms that picture. If you see yourself as prosperous, life cannot help but align with your vision. The journey to abundance begins not with what you do, but with how you think and who you believe yourself to be. Living in the consciousness of wealth means awakening each morning with the certainty that supply is flowing toward you. It means walking through your day as though every step is guided by opportunity. It means speaking words of increase, not decrease, words of plenty, not lack. This consciousness transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. A simple meal becomes a feast. A small coin becomes a symbol of endless provision. The consciousness of wealth turns every experience into evidence of overflowing good. To cultivate this consciousness, one must begin with thoughts. Thoughts are the architects of destiny. A thought of poverty builds a house of lack. A thought of abundance constructs a palace of plenty. Ask yourself daily, what kind of house am I building with my thoughts? If you are dwelling on scarcity, fear, and insufficiency, you are erecting walls that block the flow of prosperity. But when you dwell on supply, gratitude, and generosity, you are constructing gates through which abundance freely enters. Words reinforce thoughts. Every word you utter carries energy, shaping your consciousness of wealth. When you say, "I cannot afford this," you affirm lack. When you declare, "I live in endless supply," you affirm abundance. Speak as though you already possess the riches you desire. Speak with confidence, with joy, with thanksgiving. The consciousness of wealth is not timid. It is bold, certain, and alive. As you continue to speak these words, they sink into your heart and become your reality. Feelings, too, play their part. It is not enough to think wealth. You must feel wealthy. Feelings are the language of the subconscious mind. To feel poor while declaring wealth is to send mixed signals, and life responds with confusion. Train your emotions to dwell in joy, gratitude, and expectancy. Imagine yourself already living in the comfort, freedom, and generosity of wealth. Let that feeling rise within you until it overflows. The subconscious mind, impressed by this feeling, will set forces into motion that bring it into form. Living in the consciousness of wealth also requires action. Abundance. Consciousness does not sit idly, waiting for riches to appear. It acts boldly, with faith, as though prosperity is already assured. A person with a conscious mind invests, creates, gives, and pursues opportunities, not from desperation but from confidence. They know that every action is blessed, every effort fruitful. When you act from the consciousness of wealth, life multiplies your results and doors open with ease. Consider the difference between two individuals. One acts from poverty, consciousness, always fearing loss, holding back, doubting, and hesitating. The other acts from wealth consciousness, trusting in supply, moving forward boldly, and giving generously. Both may face challenges, but the one with wealth consciousness always rises, for their inner state cannot be defeated by outward appearances. Another key to maintaining this consciousness is gratitude. Gratitude anchors wealth consciousness in daily life. When you give thanks for every blessing, large or small, you affirm that abundance surrounds you. Gratitude transforms your attention from what is missing to what is present, and what you focus on expands. A person who complains about lack strengthens poverty consciousness. But one who gives thanks continually multiplies blessings, for they live already in the vibration of plenty. Generosity, too, is a natural expression of wealth consciousness. To hoard is to declare, "I may not have enough." To give is to affirm, "I live in endless supply." Every act of generosity is a statement of faith in abundance. It proves that you are not bound by fear of loss, but are connected to an infinite source. The generous soul is never empty-handed, for their giving keeps the river of supply flowing. The consciousness of wealth also requires vision. Vision lifts you above appearances and anchors you in truth. See yourself living in the fullness of abundance. Picture your life as rich, joyful, and overflowing with good. See yourself blessing others, supporting worthy causes, and enjoying freedom from financial strain. The more vividly you hold this vision, the more powerfully life responds to bring it forth. Vision shapes destiny, and a wealth-conscious vision creates a wealth-filled life. Now, understand this wealth consciousness is not arrogance, greed, or vanity. True wealth is not measured only in money but in freedom, joy, peace, and generosity. A person may possess millions yet live in poverty, consciousness if they fear loss, hoard their riches, or believe they are unworthy. On the other hand, a person with wealth consciousness may have little in hand, but radiates abundance, attracts opportunities, and blesses others freely. Outer riches always follow inner riches. To live permanently in this state, make daily declarations. I live in the consciousness of wealth. Abundance flows through me. I am one with infinite supply. Every day, in every way, I grow richer in mind, body, and spirit. Repeat these affirmations until they become the very atmosphere of your life. Let them replace every thought of lack, every fear of insufficiency. Soon, you will discover that your outer life reflects this inner transformation. Ultimately, the consciousness of wealth is freedom. Freedom from fear of lack. Freedom from the chains of poverty. Freedom to give, to create, to enjoy, and to bless. It is the realization that abundance is your divine inheritance, always present, always available. Poverty may have tried to claim you, but once you step into the consciousness of wealth, it can no longer hold you. You rise above it, and life aligns with your new identity. So choose today to live in this consciousness. Think rich thoughts, speak rich words, feel rich emotions, and take rich actions. Live as though wealth surrounds you, because in truth, it does. The unseen supply is already yours. Your only task is to align with it. Let this truth settle deep within you. When you live in the consciousness of wealth, you can't be poor more. We have journeyed through the principles of abundance, exploring how thoughts, words, gratitude, faith, and vision create the life we live. Now we arrive at the heart of the matter. Poverty is not your destiny, nor is it your permanent state. You were never designed for lack. Abundance is woven into the very fabric of your being. The truth is simple, yet powerful. You can't be poor more. Why? Because once you awaken to the reality of infinite supply, you cannot return to ignorance. Once your mind has tasted the consciousness of wealth, poverty loses its hold. The old chains of fear, doubt, and insufficiency fall away, replaced by the awareness that you are one with limitless provision. This realization changes everything. It shifts your speech, your feelings, your vision, and your actions. Poverty is not conquered by struggle, it is dissolved by light. And that light is truth. The truth that abundance is everywhere, always flowing, always available. Look at the air you breathe, the sun that rises, the rain that nourishes the earth. Do you limit the air you inhale? Do you worry that the sun may not rise tomorrow? Just as these gifts flow freely, so too does supply flow in your life when you align your heart with faith instead of fear. The power lies within you. Every thought you think, every word you speak, every feeling you entertain, and every action you take either opens the door to abundance or keeps it closed. When you declare with conviction, I live in endless supply, you are not making an empty statement. You are aligning with the eternal law of provision. When you give thanks for the smallest blessings, you multiply them. When you give with joy, you set circulation into motion that brings increase back to you. Remember, this poverty is a shadow, not a substance. It only appears real when you stand in the darkness of fear. But the moment you step into the light of truth, the shadow disappears. You can't be poor more because you now know the truth. You are rich in spirit, rich in possibility, rich in opportunity, rich in divine inheritance. From this day forward, let wealth consciousness be your guide. Think rich, speak rich, act rich, and most of all, feel rich. Carry yourself as one who is abundant, and life will rise to meet you in that vibration. Do not be swayed by appearances. Do not allow the whispers of fear to undo your faith. Stand firm in the knowledge that you are connected to an infinite source, and that supply flows to you in perfect ways, At perfect times, in perfect measure, so walk boldly into your future. Let every step echo with the certainty that lack has no place in your life. Declare it, believe it, live it. I can't be poor more. For abundance is not coming. It is already here, waiting for your recognition. Embrace it, and let your life shine as a living testimony of wealth, joy, and freedom.